So picture this. Something falls out of the sky right next to Area 51. Only the most secret military base on the planet. What happens next? A massive, super secretive cleanup operation, and an official story that, well, according to the folks on the ground, just doesn't add up. Let's dive into what looks like a serious cover-up.
And listen, that's not just some random comment from the internet. That is a direct quote from the lead investigator on this whole story. It just perfectly sets the stage for the mystery here, a total clash between what they told us happened and what the evidence is screaming.
All right, let's rewind and go right back to the beginning. This whole thing kicks off not with some giant explosion, but with a voice just crackling over a radio scanner in the dead quiet of the pre-dawn hours on September 23rd. There's an independent researcher, a guy named George Arnew, who runs a website all about the base. Part of what he does is monitor the radio traffic coming from inside Area 51. And most of the time, it's pretty boring, just routine chatter. But on this morning, yeah, that routine was about to be shattered.
So Arnew's just listening, having his morning coffee, when the entire tone on the radio just flips. Everything became clipped, urgent, and deadly serious. He figured out pretty quick that some kind of large secret air operation was going on, and that something had just gone terribly, terribly wrong.
And then, there it was. The phrase, "we just had an asset go down." Now, here's the crucial part. That call came from Area 51 security, not the nearby Creech Air Force Base. This was a clear signal that whatever crashed, this asset, it belonged to the top secret base itself. Hearing that call is one thing, but what happened next out in the desert was like a scene from a movie, a textbook example of how to handle a secret crash retrieval. The response was huge, and man, it was fast.
So boom, the base immediately goes on lockdown. But here's the kicker. They also sealed off a massive section of the Tikaboo Valley, which is public land. That's a really important point to remember. This whole thing didn't happen on their property, it happened on ours.
So Arnew, the researcher, hops in his truck and drives out toward the area. But he's stopped fast. On a public road, he's met by an armed patrol. He said they were holding their weapons at the ready, making it crystal clear that they were not to be messed with. They meant business.
And the scene back at the main gate to Area 51? Well, it just showed how big this operation was. Arnew saw sheriff's deputies, military security everywhere. There was a helicopter just sitting there ready to go, with a huge basket attached for hauling wreckage. They'd even brought in porta potties, and that's always a dead giveaway that the cleanup crew is planning to be there for a while.
For 4 solid days, there was nothing but official silence. Crickets. Then, Creech Air Force Base, which is the hub for the military's drone program, put out a statement. And this right here is where the story splits into 2 completely different realities.
Okay, let's just walk through this, because this is wild. On the left, you've got the official Air Force story. They say a standard drone from Creech crashed. But on the right, the investigators on the ground are thinking, no way. The response was way too big for a normal drone. Then the Air Force claims someone tampered with the site and planted fake debris. The investigators see that as a pretty obvious distraction. And finally, the Air Force announces an FBI investigation into this supposed tampering, all while the investigators are literally watching a cleanup crew bulldoze the entire site into the ground. So when Arnew was asked about this whole claim of public tampering, his response was, shall we say, blunt. That's absolutely bogus. He's convinced the entire story was cooked up for one reason and one reason only, to keep people away.
So, if the official story was just a smokescreen, what was really going on at that crash site? We hear the term cover-up all the time, and it's usually just a figure of speech. Well, in this case, it was pretty literal.
It didn't take Arnew long to figure out that the first area they sealed off was just a staging ground. About 200 yards from there, he found the real point of impact. And how did he know? From the telltale burn marks scarring the local Joshua trees. You can't fake that.
And that's when the second wave of the cleanup crew rolled in. And listen, they weren't there to just pick up little pieces. They brought in heavy equipment, graders, and they physically buried the entire crash site under a thick layer of fresh desert dirt. A literal cover-up. But here's the thing. Even after all that, investigators could still find small bits of debris underneath all that freshly plowed dirt.
When you look at the whole event, it really seems like they were following a well-practiced playbook. Step 1, lock down the base. Step 2, seal off public land. Step 3, put out a believable cover story. And the final step, Step 4, sprinkle in some disinformation. Like the tampering story, just to confuse everybody and kill curiosity.
So if it wasn't just a standard drone, what was it? Well, the leading theory, which has been pieced together from former military and aerospace insiders, points to something way, way more advanced.
The theory is that this crashed asset was a next-gen AI-controlled wingman drone. Now, this is not your standard remote-piloted craft. We're talking about a highly autonomous vehicle designed to fly right alongside a manned fighter jet, kind of like a loyal AI-powered partner in the sky.
I mean, the whole concept is a game changer. A human pilot can spot a target and just give the wingman a simple command like, go check it out. From that point on, the AI drone takes over, flying the mission all on its own. Now, can you imagine losing a prototype of that kind of technology? Yeah, that would be a secret worth protecting at any cost.
And get this, this crash didn't happen on some quiet afternoon. It happened during Black Flag, a massive, top-secret military exercise. It was one of the biggest secret air operations ever conducted in that area, which, if you think about it, is the absolute perfect time to test a brand new, cutting-edge experimental aircraft.
Which kind of leaves us right here. The official story says a simple drone crashed. But the evidence, it points to a gigantic retrieval operation for something much more important, followed by a literal cover-up. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets are still buried out there under all that desert dirt?